it's Guido coming at you with a late Thursday morning not coffee talk. I have my coffee. It's a tactics talk. I'm in a kerfuffle. I'm late. Remodel. It's crazy. Things are crazy. So we're going to start actually today with just a nice and easy artillery game. I don't feature a lot of artillery games on the channel for probably lots of obvious reasons, but my views on the Arty mechanic are pretty well known. But I do have all of them. I have played all of them. There's one that if I was forced to play Arty a lot would be the 5355, the M5355 at Tier 9 American artillery. This is a good SPG. We're on Proc, which is a great SPG map. There's very few places for people to hide from you on Proc and it's a pretty static game. You can support the entire map, especially with something with the range that the 5355 has. So it's just a great setup. You can see that I'm running improved vents, improved rammer, improved GLD. Yes, I have put 3 pieces of improved equipment on my artillery. I am that guy. Coffee is very nice. Very nice. Just got done taking the old dog for a walk. I have not done my workout, but it's a bit chilly here in Florida right now, so we're going to wait till it warms up just a bit. I'm going to talk a bit about why I play Arty. One of the reasons is to learn about how Arty plays so that I can avoid it. You can actually learn a lot about the game by playing Arty by watching, because you're sitting here at 1G, you don't have a whole lot going on, so you can pretty much pay attention to where everybody is in the game, what they're doing. You can see how the flow goes, and then you can really, and honestly, this is something that, I think we have poo-pooed a lot, but you really can support your team in artillery if you're paying attention. And that sounds kind of dumb because it's a support game mechanic, right? That was the intention by the developers, something that could help the team and not necessarily be completely overpowered. It's run the gamut through the years of being that a bit overpowered type of game mechanic. But right now, I would say it's about as good as it's ever been. My basic gripe with it, I said that everyone knows, but essentially the basic gripe is somebody can affect the game from the back without really having any skin in the game, right? As I'm moving after I shoot, there's very, very little danger from counter battery. There's very little danger anyway. Every once in a while, somebody gets lucky or you get lazy and don't move. I do suggest you move in your artillery after you fire. But as a general rule, counter battery is pretty useless. Like I said, I wanted to also talk about supporting the team. So let's talk about this particular match. It's on the way, ongoing. We have some guys up on the hill and we have a bunch of guys on the 5-6 line. So I'm sort of supporting either one of those, and I'm just looking for the tanks that are lit. I would love to go for the lighter skinned tanks, but usually it's the heavies that are up front. But I do have a couple mediums sitting up here. In fact, a bunch of them have got into this little bowl right here, into this little swell, and that's a great opportunity if you're doing missions like you want top experience. If you can get a couple tanks next to each other, you can get the stun and the damage on 2 different tanks, and potentially the damage after stun, or potentially the assist if you happen to track them, all that good stuff. You also notice that the enemy artillery, at least one of them, is popping off right there. I can see that tracer go by, and that will give you a general idea of where they are if you pay attention to the direction. If you just extrapolate that straight back on the mini map, you'll have a good idea where they are. So it feels like both of them are over here. I'm a little bit wrong though, actually, right now in the game. They're actually over on the 0 line. One of them is, because I'm going to see another shot come out at a pretty high angle from back there. You'll notice the 1-2 line, not much is going on over there. That's kind of unusual for Proc. A lot of your artillery damage and TD damage will happen on the 1-2 line, but I'm reacting to the game as it is. If we pause it right now, and again, I can actually do this. A lot of times when I'm giving you my commentary, it's a remembrance of what I'm doing. I'll fill in. I try to be as honest as I can about whether I saw something or didn't see something. But a lot of times I would imagine we look at a replays and go, oh yeah, I knew this, I knew that, when something good happens. I try to be honest about that. With artillery, it's much easier to look at it and go, all right, this is happening, I know that's happening. This is why I did this. This is why I moved my cursor over here, because you're not so involved in that little local fight with the peeking and the hold down stuff and the maneuver and the side scraping and all the things you're doing. I'm just sitting here with a God's eye view plinking at stuff, right? So I can see that the Hill has some issues in that the 5-6 line has a stack of people. And I can actually have some time to look over at the tank roll over there. And we got, all right, a CC Mark II is not seen. A Sturb is not seen. A Manicore, not surprised by the Manicore. We'll get to those guys in a minute. A Type 61 or 71. And a TVP. All right, so there's a number of tanks not seen so far. I would imagine a good number of those guys are on the 1-2 line, but they're not really pushing. So I've just been plinking away. I've got 13 shells. I don't carry a lot of the HE that doesn't have splash. It does hit harder, but it doesn't have splash. And based on the way Arty is mech'd right now and its accuracy, I just don't find that HE shell that does more damage to be that useful. So there's some damage after stun on the Malshin. We don't have a whole lot. That's where I figured out one of those guys was back here, and I'm gonna take a bit of a waste of a shot. If you're trying to maximize your experience on Arty, say you've got a mission where you have to be top experience on the team, which there are some out there, you'd like to hit dark tanks. If you hit the tanks that are dark, you get all the experience for the damage. If you hit something that somebody else lit, then you're sharing the experience, the assist, all that good stuff, and the damage on those guys. So if you have a good idea where something is, go ahead and take a shot at it for blind shots. Artillery is probably not the best opportunity. The best opportunity for that is, let's say somebody just went dark. You know he was right there. He goes dark, and then you can shoot. That's a good one. Or someone you know is just sitting in a spot. Say a TD was sitting there, and he went dark, and you know that dude did not move. There's another opportunity right there. Cleaning out near deads is also a good opportunity. We'll just take a stab at that one. I didn't even let that thing zoom in. Why? Because all of the shots tend towards the middle, and he was such low hit points, I had a good opportunity to splash him, even if I missed by a considerable distance. So we'll take that dude out. And I'm just watching for where the guys are like, oh, look at that. See that right there? All right, so he's basically here-ish, somewhere along there. I'm not going to bother. I don't think I shoot at him this time, but mental note. To be honest, it's oh, another shot went out. There he is. He's right there. Maybe I do shoot at him. I did. But I didn't get anything off of him, I don't think. That was likely to be, and again, this is that 1G, nothing really going on. That fired so fast, it had to be the 55-58. Look, he just fired again. And clearly I missed by a mile because he didn't bother to move. In between your reloads, you have an opportunity to look around the map. Just get your pepper, get your aiming circle back to where you want to shoot within about 10 to 15 seconds of reload. That way the dispersion circle can come all the way in, or at least as close to all the way in by the time you're ready to shoot. Don't be wandering around looking at stuff and then realize you're fully loaded. Then you've got to stop and zoom in. So if you want to maximize the amount of shots, especially in a target-rich environment like this where there's plenty of guys to shoot, make sure by the time you're loaded, just like this, like, okay, good. Just work on him. Which way is he going? We'll just put a little back slope action, and we'll slap him for 389. Then somebody hits him for 506. So we've cranked up our damage to 854. That I can see, and 939 after stun. No assist, which assist is a lot lower on artillery these days. It seems like it's much harder to track them. All right. I write down, is the Manicore AFK or brain dead? All right. Our Manicore, I think he just started moving. Is that right? Is he moving now? Yes. But he's been sitting over here on the 1-2 line in one of these bushes right about here with nothing going on. Now, that's not necessarily a terrible spot initially. Why? Because nobody really went to the 1-2 line. So why get really far forward, run into the other Manicore, and get shredded by their campers on the 1-2 line? But this game's been going on for a while, so let's just pause. And again, in artillery, you have the time to do this, and I've been watching this whole thing. You have time in between reloads and looking around to go, hey, what's not lit? See, during the game, not necessarily, watching a replay. So we have a CC Mark 1 not lit, a Manicore, a TVP. That's it. That's it. So I'm not surprised the CC Mark 1's over there. I'm not surprised their Manicore is probably hanging out on the 1-2 line. And there's one medium probably sitting over. That's it, fellas. We got a decent lead going on with 4 and 2, and there's just nothing over there. So at some point, you would hope the Manicore would move. Notice that I actually just got countered Took a hit right there because I got lazy. So we're going to start looking around. You're going to start to hear the construction guys making noise. By the way, the reason I'm able to do this is the Jimmy Carter National Day of Mourning. So that's what we're doing here. Type 61's trying to back out. Let's see if we can kill this dude, maybe. I probably missed. Hard to tell, though, because he went dark. Notice he went dark, so I don't get the feedback. I have a lot more damage right now, and assist whatnot, than is showing up on my card down there in the bottom left. Showing up on the screen. And that's actually good. If you know you've been hitting guys, don't worry about that. There's the Sturf. Holy cow, he was up there. And that's actually a good thing. Because if you know you've been shooting where guys were and getting some hits, then that's going to be damage that's good for you. So I should hit that guy. I got 39 out of it, but check it out. Now they're thumping him after stun. Another 761 chucked on there, which is, in today's day and age with artillery, that's a really good thing for you. One thing I'll say about artillery in this part of the game, sometimes it's fun, and the 53-55 can do this because it's very mobile. Sometimes it's fun just to get on your horse and attack with artillery when you know the game's in the bag. Not necessarily the best idea for trying to get top experience or damage. However, it can be, especially in city maps where you can get close to people, and you can actually get some of that face-to-face damage, which you don't have to share because you're not relying on somebody with vision on them. You have vision on them. So that's another tip or trick for getting extra damage or extra experience, both really, but mostly experience out of the game. You know, some of those city maps, your artillery, you just can't get a shot because they're turtled up. Well, if you drive yourself to them and do the old TD mode on them, especially if they're worried about multiple tanks, you know, they shoot. You have an opportunity to come around the corner and shoot, and they can't shoot you. That's extra damage and experience, and that might be the few extra ones that push you over the top if you're looking for that top damage or top experience. This will be a top experience game for me. I'll be number 1 experience. I will not be number 1 in damage. So there are some missions, I believe, where you're supposed to be both. All right, I'm watching this back corner. This is the bitter end right here. Their TVP was on the 1-2 line. Their Mana Core actually died. I didn't talk about it. Actually, he's not dead yet. Never mind. We'll get to him. One of the things that struck me on this game is, have you ever seen, and I looked at the Mana Core assist damage, and it was very low for both of them. It's highly unusual to have a game where you've got 2 Mana Cores, especially at a tier 10 and 9 game on proc, where the Mana Cores were a non-factor. Very interesting. I suppose there's something to be said for they locked down the 1-2 line, but both teams ignored it more or less, which is again highly unusual. This is a very strange game to me for proc. They happen like this. They happen like a lot of ways, right? A lot of ways that are different than the meta, but it just struck me because it was unusual enough that you noticed it. Let me just ask you where you think their Mana Core is. I've let it go on for a long time, but take a look at the mini-map over here as we're all sitting here at 1G. We have all that time in the world, all the time in the world like an artillery player. And we're wondering where, oh where can the Mana Core be? Into the game here. All right, so some damage comes out. Looks like the Batchat 5558 actually ended up nuking the 50M right there. Shot selection towards the end of the game in artillery. Be careful with where you're aiming based on hit points and where your friends are. I don't think that 50-51 is going to last very long. So I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of hit points. I don't remember what I did here. Let's find out. Actually, I prioritized the Mana Core. Look, there he is, up in one of the magic bushes up top. That's where he was the whole time. That's why I went to the Type 71. I did waste time going for the Mana Core. I should have ignored that. I should have gone from the 50-51 going, he doesn't have a lot of hit points, to over to the Type 71. Also, if this game was closer and I was worried about a tank, it's the high hit point Type 71 or relatively high hit point Type 71 that's more of a problem to my team right now than the lower hit point 50-51. Plus the 50-51's faster, so there's a lot of things going on. And right now I'm just ignoring artillery because it would just be counter, and I have plenty of guys lit. So we're going to try to help the CC Mark 1 right here with this guy. He takes a relatively decent hit. Arty pops him. I'll put another Arty on him. The Arty that just popped him gets the stun damage addition or damage after stun from me on that one. That's another one to think about. The timing of your shots. If you can get the shot in before the other artillery on your team, then the damage after stun he does goes to you, not to him. Very nice. And if you happen to track him, that's yours as well. All right, that's unfortunate. Now I'm just sort of looking for artillery. I figured the 50-51 would die. I'm not going to chase the Mana Core around, at least at the moment. He's just too fast. Plus, he's going to get nuked by the IS-7. I see this dude shoot. So I'm like, all right, what do we got here? Just take a stab at him. Why not? I did end up hitting one of them for a little damage. There's another shot there. Looks like he moved, actually, doesn't it? So he dies. All right, I did hit him. Look, he's still stunned. Boom. Little extra damage for me. Timer goes out. Boom. I get that as well. So very interesting. There is some kind of grace period after the timer goes away where you still get a little bit of the stun. Check it out. 3,105 after stun. 1,398 shown. There's, I want to say I'm more like 2,000 something, maybe 3, as I recall from the card there. There you go, fellas. Artillery will allow you to kind of watch the map and get a better idea of flow. We saw a lot of stuff on that map that you maybe wouldn't have seen while you're playing the game until you went to the replay. I'll tell you, I saw the vast majority of that while I was playing. Tried to mention the stuff I didn't realize at the time as I went. Not perfect, that's the way it goes. But artillery allows you to do that. Let's just put it this way. Artillery allows you to look at the map and the game and the match that way much more than playing the tank. People who can do that more while playing tanks than others generally are better players. That's called SA, and they're able to gather more of a feeling or an idea or knowledge of how the actual match is flowing and what to do with that information. Artillery will allow you to kind of see that. I think you need to do both. Clearly, you need to play tanks, and honestly, you do need to play some artillery, just to kind of help you with the flow and how people deploy and where tanks are, where some of the hiding spots are. It will help you against artillery on how to avoid it as well. There's just, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's true. There's a lot of goodness in playing artillery a bit to learn all of these things. And it is pretty cool to be able to watch the flow of the match. And then if you can do a decent job of assisting your team, you can really start to turn. You know, you're not going to be necessarily carrying, but you are going to be absolutely important in supporting the team. You can be anyway. Other times you can be completely useless. That, you know, it's very map dependent, team dependent, etc. Like a lot of the game is, but even more so for artillery. I had a good team. I was never pressured. I was able to pick my shots. There were no real danger places. Although Arty can do that, you can move your focus to places that are in danger of falling and help those guys not fall. So there's options there as well. But I never had to do that today. I really just got to pick and choose where I was going to shoot. And it's proc, which is a very static map anyway for a large part of the match, which allows artillery to just start laying some damage out. And notice I only have 3 shells. I shot a lot. Pretty much shot every time I was loaded, more or less. Sometimes I had to wait 10, 15, 20 seconds. But other than that, I was shooting most of the match. And we had 11 minutes. And I got all but 3 of my shells downrange. Wasted a couple on counter shots. Those are fun if they hit. So I wasn't really trying to get top experience, just happened to do that today. I actually do that quite a bit with artillery, especially this one, this 53, 55. If there's not somebody out there dropping 5,000 or 6,000 or having a huge spotting game, not often, but sometimes, let's put it that way, I can get this tank to top experience and sometimes top damage. All right, that is all I've got for this Thursday, guys. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. We'll see you on Friday. Later.